So I would like to thank everyone for joining us for our third and final installment of the Keene Sentinel's Pandemic Parenting Community Solutions Listening Sessions. My name is Jack Rooney. I'm a staff writer at the Sentinel, and over the past 5 months or so have been looking at issues around childcare, access, and affordability in the Monadnock region and beyond for the Sentinel's Pandemic Parenting series. That series is funded by a competitive grant from the Solutions Journalism Network. And tonight's event is also co-sponsored and co-hosted by the Monadnock United Way's Impact Monadnock and Impact Monadnock Business Ambassadors. Just a few logistics before we get underway is just to remind everyone if they could please stay on mute throughout the presentations. If you do have any questions at any time, please put them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that and we'll ask the questions as they come up. And with that, we can just jump into the presentation, which tonight we are calling the Summer of Our Discontent, What's Ahead for Busy Parents. And so to start it off, we have Rebecca Lancaster and Sam Bader from Stonewall Farm. Rebecca is the Youth Education Director. Sam is the Assistant Youth Education Director at Stonewall Farm in Keene. Both of them have backgrounds in education and work at the farm's year-round farm and nature-based education programming. So with that, I will turn it over to the both of you to tell us a little bit more about yourselves and the summer ahead.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you guys for having us, and thank you to all the sponsors hosting for tonight. I think this is a great opportunity to share with area families about all of the opportunities that are going on this summer. So many more that than what, comparative to what we had last summer, which wasn't a whole lot going on. So I have good hopes, high hopes for families being able to find opportunities for their little one this summer. Sam, could you go ahead and share your screen and the PowerPoint? Thank you. All right. So we can go to the next slide. So this is summer 2021. So tonight's focus, what I really wanted to emphasize is just giving families and parents ideas and opportunities to get us through this summer. And I say us because I myself am a mother of a 5 and a 7-year-old. So it has been an interesting year and change now, to say the least. I also have a background in ecology and natural resources and a master's degree in education. I was a classroom teacher for close to a decade, specializing in upper elementary and middle school sciences and math. And I'm currently, as Jack noted, working at Stonewall Farm as the education director, youth education director, along with Sam. So I'll start us off. Sam, you can go ahead and flip it. I'm trying to break things down for parents as easy as possible. So the opportunities, there are so many opportunities. We're really lucky in this rather remote part of the state, depending who you're asking, to have so many opportunities for little ones. And these are all the programming that we're going to talk about tonight are all offered this summer, and everything as of my last check has availability. So I'm just going to give you, our names of the different programming options and ages that they serve, and and hopefully parents and families will be able to reach out. So I'll start with the obvious. Sam and I are both from Stonewall Farm. We have a traditional summer camp program that is going to run for 8 weeks this summer. Beginning June 28th all the way through August 20th. It's for ages 3 to 11 is our traditional camp. And we also have a mountain biking camp that will be offered. Keene Rec is also running a similar program. The mountain biking is for ages 9 to all the way up to 14, and that we are contracting with a company from Connecticut, actually, that has just oodles of experience, and they have some really fun plans for the kids. And they're actually the same company that's working with Keene Rec's program. So if you're traditional camps, we also have Keene YMCA runs they have a traditional summer camp and also gymnastics camps options. And they're age range that they serve is from age 5 all the way up to 6th grade. And there's, again, all of these camps, you would just have to check out their website for more information and registration details. But they have a great program that's inside and outside, I believe. They'll probably focus more on outside. We're very lucky and fortunate at Stonewall that we have over 120 acres to play around with. So our kids will be outside, 95% of the summer, which is great. And consequently, they won't have to be masked, which is really nice as well. And I think a lot of the other camps in Keene are trying to follow that model of just getting kids outside as much as possible, so things could be as normal as we can make it for kids this summer. Keene State also does a Kids on Campus program, and that is they have a preschool program for ages 3.5 to 5. And then they have specific programming that goes all the way up to high school seniors. I know I have actually my son registered for a week already. They have a lot of great like STEM and STEAM-based programming. They have a week on like Legos, and I think there's a week on like fairies and magical things for the girls or anyone interested in that. They have programming that really just focuses on like just the sciences, and they have stuff that's kind of follows a more traditional summer camp kind of vibe there as well. And it's something awesome to check out. Then Moco Arts right down downtown Keene. They're like theater and dance based. They have programming. They have, I believe it's called Cake and then Cupcake are their 2 programs that they run. And one is for the younger guys, like ages 4 to probably middle elementary. And then they have their second program that kind of runs for the older kids, where they do more structured work throughout the summer. And I know that they're, even though they're usually based inside, I think last summer, and I think they're planning the same this summer, is really to move a lot, as much as they can, outside on their grounds as well. And for parents with littler ones, we have Montessori Schoolhouse, which is right down the road from us at Stonewall. And they have a summer camp program for little ones, starting at 18 months all the way up to 6 years old. So if you're looking, I know that the 3 and 4-year-old range for us at Stonewall already has been filling up. I think we only have 2 weeks left that are with open availability. So I think that's a really hot age for parents who may be needing a little bit of a break after this past year. So that is, they're going to be opening up their registration, I believe, starting next week to the public. So if you're finding that other camps that cater to the younger ones are already full, like Keene State and Stonewall, that would be another great great place to call and inquire starting next week. And then NHDI is also doing it's called a summer intensive. It's a 2-week dance and theater camp that's worth looking into. They work a lot in our schools and have just an amazing reputation around town as well. Thanks, Sam. Then for anyone interested in sports camps specifically in Keene, we have the Keene State Athletic Camp. So Keene State runs a soccer and basketball program for little ones from grades K all the way up to 12. And they also have, Keene Rec Center has their own camps too. And I think they are kind of a more traditional camp, but I think they have a little more of like an athletics direction than a lot of the other camps. And they get to utilize the local parks. So I think they're based out of Wheelock and Robin Hood Park. So they have like the pools there they think they take advantage of. So there's like a swimming component, which is great. And that is based on or focused on little ones ages 6 to 11. Keene Ice also has hockey camps over the summer. And the Keene Swamp Bats have a camp, a baseball or softball and baseball. I'm not 100% positive, but they have programming for little ones ages 5 to 12. So these are all great sport options if you're a little one. And they all run, I think, at least a week and potentially more. But I think all of the camps that we've discussed so far, you can register week by week. So you can go anywhere from 1 to, up to 8 or 9 weeks at some of these camps that run all summer long. We run 8 weeks, our camp, and we're kind of on the longer end. All right, Sam, thank you. And not to leave out all of our surrounding towns. So in right down the lake right down the road at Lake Spofford, they have Camp Spofford, which offers day and overnight options. And they're one of the really few camps that have, overnight options in this area. So if you're looking for that for your older ones, that would be a good option. We also have Swansea Lake Day Camp for kindergartners through 6th grade, and Camp Swanto in Swansea for grades 2 through 12. Camp Glenbrook in Marlborough. They're a Waldorf-inspired camp, which is what kind of makes them stand out. And then Croquet Expeditions in Marlow, which is ages 9 to 19, and the Field House in Swansea, which I spelled incorrectly, I apologize, for grades 3 through 8. So again, these are more options for, all within, I believe, probably, 20-minute drive of Keene for the most of these. And I'm going to let Sam, our Assistant Education Director, take this one over. She put together a great list of, if you're not into, if you don't want to commit to an entire week somewhere and are just looking for ideas for your little ones over the summer with you and your family, or want to get a couple friends together, these are just some great outdoor opportunities that are really right around the corner from us. So take it over, Sam.
Thanks. So I put together this list of kid-friendly hikes. And so these are hikes that are maybe just a little bit easier to do. Some of them have flatter surfaces, some of them are shorter. So I'll jump in with like one of my favorites right off the bat, which is Gap Mountain. So that one's about like a 2.5 mile hike round trip. And it is definitely, it's going to be a little bit trickier for younger ones, but definitely like elementary age and older, I'd say would be very doable, or if you're carrying like a baby in a pack. And the great part about it is that if you go in like July to August area, there's tons of wild blueberries. And so it's kind of a nice little treat when you get to the top to sit down and just kind of snack on some of those blueberries up there. Another really great one is Madame Cherie Forest. There are castle ruins there. And so there's a loop that's about 2 miles long called the Ann Stokes Loop. And that one's a pretty easy hike. And it's always just really cool to kind of see these castle ruins coming out of nowhere in the forest. It's very magical. So kids, I'm sure, would enjoy that. There's also just some more like traditional ones that I'm sure a lot of families from around here know of or maybe have done before. The Oshuela Rail Trail, the Goose Pond Loop, the Cheshire Recreational Rail Trail. And then there's the Chesterfield Gorge right over in Chesterfield, New Hampshire. That one's a really fun one to do if you're looking kind of for some like different scenery and some elevation change, but a very short hike. And so that kind of gets you some different views. There's Pisgah State Park, which just has tons and tons of trails. There's many different points that you can come in from. And so that's kind of, if you're looking for something where you like have a spot, you just like want to find a spot that you can keep coming back to throughout the summer. That would be a really good one to be able to just go and just take a bunch of different trails and know that in general, it's pretty easy going hiking. Then there is also, I added in Sunset Rock here. Sunset Rock is right in Keene. It's a very short hike, I'd say less than 10 minutes to get to this really beautiful view of Keene. And it's called Sunset Rock because, of course, you can go up and watch the sunset from there. And I even have a family I used to nanny for even went up there with their baby in a stroller, and they were able to manage that. So if you have a young one and you don't want to be carrying them on your back, that's a nice short one. Robin Hood Park. I feel like a lot of people go there and know about it, but there's like a secret little spot. If you go all the way up to the top part of it, there's a bunch of different like vernal pools up there, which is a really cool thing to be exploring throughout the summer, just to be able to watch the life cycle of the salamanders and the frogs that lay their eggs there. And then there's the Oshuela Park. And then last but not least, this is one I haven't done, but that I've heard tons about, which is Pitcher Mountain. It's a very short hike. It's only a 0.5 mile to get up there. And there's wildflowers, and I heard that there's really, really great, beautiful views. So it's a very easy one to do. I believe you'd be able to even do it with very little ones who might not be able to last for too long when they're hiking.
And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the hiking trails at Stonewall themselves. And do you want to speak really quick about the Storybook Trail that you
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. So we have a trail at Stonewall. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. Sorry, something changed on my screen. So at Stonewall, we actually have a trail that we will be changing out a story on. So it's a story walk. And as you go along the trail, there's pages of the book. And so you just follow them in order. And by the time that you finish the whole loop, you've read a whole story. And so we'll be changing those out every month or two throughout the summer. So yeah, you can check out our Facebook page and we'll be posting when they go up.
Thank you, Sam, for sharing those. Could move on. There we go. So these are just some more kind of outdoor ideas. Again, if you're not looking for camps, but just ideas to, something to do with your family, whether it's like a weekend day or you just have an afternoon free. Things that I've personally enjoyed and done a lot with my little ones over the past couple of years as well. We have often gone to Spofford Lake Beach. It's called Wares Beach. And even if you're not a resident of Chesterfield and you're not in that immediate Spofford Lake area, you're still welcome. I do think that they have some restrictions on capacity this summer. So it would be best to probably show up like first thing in the morning. I believe they open around like 9:30 most mornings in the summertime, and like get your space. And then once they hit their capacity, they'll probably be closing and then waiting for people to leave until more can come in. That's the gist I got from their website. So it's worth checking out. But they have a really nice like kind of beach area and a roped off swim area that's really shallow for kids to stay in appropriate height water. And we would just show up with our swim vests and our floaties and our pail and bucket. And my kids have spent hours and hours there. They also have a little like snack stand and bathroom facilities and a playground. So that's a great way to you could easily spend a whole day there for not that much money, which is a great option. Surrey Lake also has a really great beach area, kind of the same thing. It's not so easily put. I mean, the parking is right there. They don't have like a concession area, and I don't think the bathrooms are right there. I think they do have some up the hill though. And again, it's beautiful there. Just another great way to spend an afternoon. Keene Rec, like I mentioned earlier, I know their camps get to utilize the pools, but you could also just sign up for independent swim lessons for your little guys at Robin Hood and Wheelock Park pools. If you're like the outside, Keene YMCA has the indoor swim lessons. Keene Rec has like outdoor. So if you're more interested in outdoor, you do take, you have to chance what the weather might be that day, if it's a little cold or if it's rainy, but they have a great program and really reasonably priced swim lessons over the summer. Friendly Farm in Dublin is a favorite of mine with my little guys. It's just very super hands-on. They have like a ton of different animals and they were just, they've really nailed down the whole experience. I would say for like that, even like 18 months up to 5 or 6 years with that age group, they have little baby chicks that you could pet and pick up. They have, you could bottle feed goats. They have like bunnies and and tons of goats. My daughter likes to just like lay down in the grass and let the goats kiss her and attack her to death, but it's very cute. And you could buy feed and feed the animals. So that could also easily be another day. They have picnic areas, picnic tables set up that you could eat at. And, inside gift shop and snack area, you could buy drinks and snacks for your kids. And it's about a 20-minute drive from Keene. Keene Rail Trail, Sam already mentioned. And then I did already mention early on in the talk, the new Keene Bike Park at Wheelock Park. So if you go into Wheelock Park and you make an immediate left and you'll pass the existing playground equipment that they have set up there. And if you go a little further, you'll see that I think it was just a group of parents who got everything started. And just in the past couple of years, they've created this amazing asset and resource for the community. And I know biking has become more and more popular. So if you haven't checked it out yet and your kids enjoy bike riding, it's free. There's no like capacity limits or anything. So just find a parking spot or a bike there yourselves. And make sure the little ones have their helmets because there's aggressive looking parts anyway. I haven't tried it out myself, but it's a blast for the kids who are there. So I would highly recommend that as well. And something else I didn't put on this, but just kind of came to me is Allison's Orchard. And I don't know exactly, is that Walpole probably? maybe, or out that direction. But Allison's has, like how Sam was mentioning, like berry picking. They have, they're just really set up for doing like berry picking and apple picking and everything with families, and they put a really great experience together. So that's something else I would recommend for, it's usually a good morning in the summer before it gets too hot. I used to take my little guys there like right around 9 in the morning, and we, could hang out 2 or 3 hours before the summer sun really hits in the afternoon. And you come home with a big bucket of blueberries or raspberries or whatever it is that you're going after that day.
It's
And
Westmoreland. Not that it's a big deal, but
okay, thank you.
it's Westmoreland, yeah.
Where it was. All right. And then some rainy day options. We have, like I mentioned, the YMCA, and how it was explained to me, I just inquired about how they're going to run their summer swim lessons. In the past, they've done, lessons that are, maybe once a week over an 8-week period. But what they're going to do this summer is a little unique in that, to try to keep, I guess, the numbers a little more consolidated, they're going to run just week-long swim lessons every day of the week. So really it becomes like a little mini camp in and of itself. I mean, you'd have to be there, you're there monitoring your kids, but it's something that they could work on. And I think it really does help with swimming skills too, to reinforce skills when they're practicing everything day after day, as opposed to waiting a week in between. So that's something you could inquire at the Keene YMCA. And they have swim lessons from like infant all the way up to, high school swim teams and stuff. And I think all of those are going the entire summer. There's also we have like such an amazing resource in Keene when it comes to the public library. We have like, I think, I don't know, might just be bragging, but I think we have the best library in the state. We've also been granted, the library went out and was awarded a very big grant to get it's kind of like STEM programming and STEAM programming. And so I know they've done a ton, and the name escapes me right now. I think it's like the Maker Lab or the Maker Workshop, and they have run programming pre-COVID, and I think they've found ways to do a little bit during, but I'm pretty sure they're going to ramp it up again this summer with a lot of programmings. They do everything from just story time with the very little ones into just really cool like science and like engineering based activities with the older kids. So they even have really awesome 3D printers on site. They have, free internet access for kids. They could play, not that I'm promoting it, but they can play their video games there even. I think they have a setup for that. And like a lot of learning apps and programming that they bought, that they subscribe to. So you could easily spend an entire rainy day at the library. We have several times in the past, and it's always a good experience. And then you're in walking distance to a lot of fun shops and restaurants too when you need a break. Next is the Cheshire Children's Museum, which is right downtown. They are open. The only thing that looks different, as far as I could tell, is they're doing a new online reservation system because of COVID. So if you're interested in going, and again, this is a great resource, honestly, from kids as little as I would say like 6 to 9 months, because they have like a baby area all the way up to probably middle to late elementary kids. Then you start to kind of lose them there, but they are just a great resource. And I like how they are doing this reservation system, although it seems a little that one extra step just to be able to do something. I think they're just really being careful about limiting the capacity and making sure that they can, operate safely this summer. So if you are interested in going there, just check them out online first. The Caterpillar Lab, which has, I believe they've relocated to Marlborough. Is that right, Sam? Because I know that's your neck of the woods. Yes. So they're a great resource too, just for maybe like a morning or an afternoon, like a drop in if you have an hour or two and want to learn about caterpillars. They usually always have some really cool little critters to show you and to teach. Sorry, I apologize for my kids screaming in the background if you could hear that. But another great resource. And then lastly, a great thing for just summertime in general, or particularly, rainy days, is Keene Ice. They have free, open skate times when they're not running their hockey camps or the different hockey leagues. But if you check on their website and look, pay attention to their calendar, you could usually find some weekend hours or weekday hours where you get to bring your little ones and, embarrass yourself by falling on the ice over and over for an hour or two. All right. And then I just wanted to throw in some day trips that were a little further away, but we've really enjoyed ourselves. We have I have always loved the Springfield museums, Dr. Seuss Museum, if you haven't gone, is super duper cute for that younger age group. And also, I think I don't know what the technical name is, the Natural History Museum, but it's like right next to the Dr. Seuss Museum. And when you buy admission to one of them, you get admission to all of the museums. They also have some like kind of more adult themed museums, like art museums and things that my kids have never really done super well in. But the Natural History Museum has some really cool things that my kids have always enjoyed, and as well as the Dr. Seuss Museum. So that's if you go south a little over an hour. Then if you want to switch it up and go north, you can go up to Montshire Children's Museum, and theirs is kind of like a science-based, like really, a nice hands-on museum that you could, that's a full day, either the Springfield or Montshire Children's Museums. And my kids have always really enjoyed it. And I believe our public library, Keene Public Library, actually has, if you check in with them, they usually have either like discounted or even free passes for these museums that are available to them that they fund. So if that's something that it could be a financial implication, and you shouldn't let that stop you. I would definitely reach out to Keene Public Library. They even have passes to a lot more local things that you'd be surprised. Then you can go, I think it might be, I don't know if it's the Cheshire Children's Museum, but there's a lot of very local resources that they could help you out with. So they're a great resource, again, for that reason as well. And then Maine beaches. My husband's a super beach lover, so we try to make it over to the beach a lot over the summer. Usually you do have to, maybe it's a long day trip, but it might be like a one night overnight, but it's well worth the trip to get away at least once over the summer if you can. And all right, so that's and again, I would say the theme, and just from my life experience, is it never hurts to ask. So if you think, if it's the financial piece of it that's holding you back from reaching out to like one of our local day camps, please just call and inquire, because you'd be surprised how many of our day camps and even overnight camps and sports camps have money available, especially in this year in COVID. People have been like just super gracious with donations and wanting children to like really have the best summer, and for parents to get that break that we need over the course of the summer. So just call these camps and, explain any situation that you might be in, and just ask what's available. I know a lot of camps also, as you get closer to summer, if there's still open spaces, sometimes we'll go down, instead of offering a week camp, maybe you could just do a couple days in the course of that week instead. But just, again, it's always worth to ask if you have questions, or if it's something that you're really interested in, but fear that you might not be able to, like if it's either a scheduling conflict or a financial implication, it's always worth asking. And I have my email there. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out. Our camps are filling up very quickly this year, I think because we are outdoor based. So it's, it's a little bit of like security there for parents, and kids, while they're outside at our camp, won't have to be masked, which is really nice. But we are filling up. We're about 50% full when it comes to, or close to, a little under 50% full for our, week to week capacity in each of our age groups. And I think other camps are kind of headed in that direction. So please do not wait till like late June to sign up for camps, because there might not be that much availability left at that point. Sam, do you have anything you want to add on that I've missed? I'm sure, and I apologize if I've missed any camps or other opportunities. I'm sure I've missed a ton. Again, a lot of this is just from my personal experience as a mom up here for the past 8 years. And, from my experiences on the school board and from Stonewall. So just thinking of things that we've enjoyed ourselves.
No, I think, well, I guess I do want to actually throw out the Marlborough Public Library too. Will be having every summer they do like some sort of series. It's usually like a concert series where they do an outdoor concert at the library, I think every month. And so if you just keep an eye out on the Facebook page, that usually post about that. And it seems to be a lot of families enjoy that. That's it though.
Yeah. I also should mention, we talked about this at our staff meeting this afternoon. We're going to be doing like kind of a community Friday evening, like family night at the farm, where we'll be selling a lot of the like really yummy organic produce that we're growing for our CSA. And we're also going to have like food trucks, and we're starting to make our own ice cream and stuff. And we're planning on doing like music and games and maybe outdoor movies and stuff. So that's another opportunity starting, I believe, after Memorial Day on Friday evenings from 4 to 7 at the farm. Is something else that could be a something worth dropping by for. So thank you again, Jack. And I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Sasha, and then we could do some questions and stuff afterwards.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rebecca and Sam, for such a great list of summer activities for kids and families. And while you were talking in the chat, we had something that has happened over the past 2 sessions, which I've really loved, which is just a kind of collaborative nature here. So we had Gina share with us that in addition to Gap Mountain, she said that Pitcher Mountain is also known for wild blueberries. I knew neither of those, which means I will be going to both of those at some point this summer because blueberries just might be my favorite food. And then Terry shared 2 additional resources in the chat in links that we'll make sure to include with the recording of this video. One is a toolkit for kids from the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. So lots of outdoor activities. And then Terry also shared a link, which I had completely forgotten about, and I'm glad he reminded me, is that the Sentinel's pandemic, I'm getting my my P words mixed up. Parent Express publication. Actually, the current edition for April is all about summer camps and summer activities, and so also has a list, I think, of many of the summer camps that you, Rebecca and Sam, mentioned, and probably some more as well. So again, we'll make sure that we have those links included with the recording of this session. But for right now, I will hand it over to Sasha Duverly. And Sasha is a Monadnock Region native and currently lives in Marlborough with her family, including her 3 kids, 11, 14, and 22. Sasha has served on the boards of the Harrisville Children's Center and the Game of Village, and she is currently the summer programs administrator for Croca Expeditions. And in the little bio she sent to us, which I loved, was that she is a lifelong lover of summer camp and is looking forward to a great summer at Croca. So with that, Sasha, take it away and tell us a little bit about your both experience as a parent and at Croca.
So I have always loved summer camp, and actually my grandmother, the Game of Village is something my grandmother started 50 years ago as a summer camp, and that's still carrying on. So that's, it's sort of always been part of my life as a child, and as a parent, my kids have done a lot of different summer camps. And last year I was lucky enough, one of the teachers at my children's school does a very small kind of camp at her parents' farm. And she did do that last summer. And it was for our family, like kind of a saving grace, because it had been a really long spring. And my son, he just turned 11. So he was 10, and he really does love video games. And unfortunately that has been for him, and I suspect many children, how they've been socializing. So it's, as a parent, it's made it really hard for me to feel like I do try and limit it, but at the same time, that's how he's talking to his friends, and that's how he had been socializing. So he got to do camp last summer, and they had to wear masks and they had to social distance, and it was a camp where they were outside the entire time. So that was the only reason that they were able to do that. And, that was just kind of lucky. And Croca actually was, I think, one of maybe 2 or 3 camps that did run last summer. And again, it was really a matter of luck that the way that, it's a camp where everybody is outside the whole time. And they're, if they're sleeping in a tent, it's outdoors and in a very small, limited group. And so there were a lot of parents who had been sending their kids to Croca for years and they were comfortable with that. And, they did they were able to get like the testing in place, and it was kind of amazing that it worked out. And, my kids were not there last summer. But Croca has basically every slot is full, which has never happened before this early. Because I mean, I've just been talking to many other parents about their kids are hungry for nature. They want to be outside. They want to be with kids their same age or not the same age. They just want to be with other kids. So it's been refreshing to hear how excited these families are, but it's also been interesting. You know, a lot of these kids who have been doing remote learning or hybrid learning are like, they're a little anxious about coming to a sleepaway camp, and their parents are kind of anxious about it too, because not only is it maybe a child's first time going to sleepaway camp, many of these children, I would say most, haven't even had a sleepover in a year. Right? Like, I mean, I know my son has not had a sleepover with a friend in a year. And so, you know, in a different year, I might be thinking about encouraging him to go to sleepaway camp, but I'm not this year, because I just think, you know, I don't think that's something that he would be ready for. Like, helping them make the transition from this sort of like being at home, being with their family, being with very small groups of people, to, you know, being at camp, I think is going to be wonderful for these kids. But I also am sort of thinking about just emotionally and socially, like what it's going to look like. I don't feel totally, you know, and I think it's going to be wonderful, but it's not going to be typical. You know, I don't think it's going to be like other years of camp where kids are seeing the same kids that they saw last summer, because in many cases, there are going to be lots of new students at camp or people you haven't seen for 2 years. So I think it's going to be, I think that the counselors and the staff are all going to, you know, have a different kind of work this summer, just in terms of helping the kids remember how to relax and have fun a little bit, although they usually are pretty quick to figure it out. But teenagers in particular, and you both, you know, we're talking a lot about, you know, sort of younger kids and what's available for them. But I think the sort of teen 12 to 15 or 16, I would love to see what's available out there for kids that age, because I think that's a little bit more limited. I know that the Game of Village has decided they're going to run there in Nelson, and they do a long program. It's 5 weeks. So that's a really long commitment for some families. It's too long, but it's very affordable. So it can work out great for working families. As I said, Croca really doesn't have, you know, we have waiting lists, but most of the overnight programs there are full. So I'm hoping that maybe there will be some camps that as summer gets closer, they will feel more like able to open, but I don't really know if anybody else has resources for that age group in particular. And, my 14-year-old this summer, she isn't really interested in doing summer camp necessarily. She just wants to kind of relax, and she's not that excited about the idea of camp. And as a parent, it's a little tricky, because on the one hand, you want to push your kids and you want to encourage them to try something new. But because of the kind of year this has been, I'm feeling like I need to sort of let her make a decision about what's going to work well for her at this point in time. And then for my 22-year-old, she had actually been sort of thinking about being a camp counselor this summer. And she is actually choosing not to do that for this summer, partly because it seems like it would be a really challenging year to be a new camp counselor with a new group of kids that you didn't know and a new group of families that you didn't know, especially if you are going to, and I don't know, if they're going to, what the mask policy is going to be at different places. I think I'm really relieved. I think that the kids are going to be able to mostly be outside and not wear masks. I know that that's the hope and the plan at Croca, and it sounds like at Stonewall. So, I'm really looking forward to just having some sense of it's not going to be going back to the same way it was before, but it's going to feel familiar and just more free, I think. So that's my perspective, such as it is. I also,
Sasha, can
Yeah,
I speak to one of the things that you said?
yeah, please.
Thinking of that older age group, I think something, again, like my whole, like, it never hurts to ask, something that parents could do, if I know, like, you're, not everyone maybe wants to be in a camp situation, but I think there are a lot of opportunities for like a CIT, or like even volunteering with some of the camp programming and stuff that's going on. I know that's something that, like, we like have had a couple of families ask, and we said that we could even like tailor a program to those, like, especially the below 16, like
Right.
14, 15, 16, who maybe aren't old enough to work yet, but are looking for opportunities. So that's something that I think, again, just like asking around, because it never hurts. And you'd be surprised how willing people are to really step in and help to make sure that these kids are having experiences that are healing and like restorative, and like getting us ready for next year. I know even like on our farm, like our farmers, we have like 2 very young, energetic farmers that are doing our all of our crop farming this summer, and like they just love having kids around to help out. And so like that's something too, like just volunteering. Sometimes volunteer opportunities, if you're doing it with a bunch of friends outside, doesn't it doesn't really seem like work. It just kind of seems like fun. So that's something also that might be worth for that age group to look into.
I think that's a great suggestion. Yeah.
I was actually going to jump in and say as well that a lot of farms, if you're looking at teenagers who can be a little bit independent, get a task and be able to like do it, I think you'll find that a lot of farms would be like really happy to have some extra help, and just being able to work with the dirt alone is just like a very restorative and healing process in and of itself, never mind getting to learn how to actually like grow your own food and provide for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a wonderful suggestion. And I think that going into this summer, the other thing for me is, I'm going to be working full time. My husband's working full time, and he's still working from home. So we're very lucky, because that does give us the flexibility that I feel okay about my daughter being at home. But I also know that there are tons of families who do, and in the past, I certainly have never had that kind of flexibility. We have had to have full-time childcare in the summer. So, I like Harrisville Children's Center has always had great camp programs. And my oldest daughter spent a lot of summers there, and, they have Harrisville Pond, and that was really a great fit for her. And then as far as some of the other, like in Peterborough, the Harris Center is another great place. And I don't, if any of you have ever spent time over there, that is there's a lot of great trails there, and they do have some really great summer programs there as well. And the swimming stuff is the biggest thing for me that gets my family just through the summer. Is we go all kinds of different places and do canoeing, and we've tried fishing, although that's been a little frustrating because, we tend to just feed the fish the worms. But I know that there are also like a lot of, New Hampshire Fish and Game has great fishing stuff and all kinds of wonderful trail maps and things. But I also, is there a resource? Do you know if there is a resource for like internships for teens in Keene or anything like that? Because that's something I would be really interested in exploring.
I do know that at the high school, they have a dedicated Google Classroom that has, I don't know if it's only employment opportunities for like high school age kids, but it might also be like kind of internship or like even ELO, like an extended learning opportunity that high schoolers could even get credit for. So that's definitely something I would say for like that age group to reach out to the schools before the school year ends now and see because they're really usually great at keeping track of those resources and opportunities over the summer. So that would be the first thing that comes to mind, where if an eager teen could go to ask.
And the other thing that I find the most challenging as a parent is transportation in the summer, with summer camps, because so often I don't know what the hours are for Stonewall Farm, but like very frequently camp will be like 9 to 3, like school, but there's no school bus, so it can be a little bit challenging. And I think especially for families who have have work schedules that are different. Like I know one of my really close friends is a nurse. And so she has this schedule that, she would have to be at work at 6 a.m. And so, that's the other thing as a parent that I think is always a little bit challenging, but especially now, we haven't been allowed to like carpool for, and so that's made it a little bit challenging because they've been trying to reduce the number of interactions between kids from different grades and different families and things like that. So that's the other place that like I always end up working it out one way or another with the help of grandparents and friends and things. But, I think that for camp and for school or for, and anything like that, just the transportation stuff in the Monadnock region is always something that I'm kind of interested in finding ways to improve on that and what the resources are that are out there. So
I know a lot of camps aren't. I did speak to a lot of camps that like usually would offer a before after care and aren't.
Right.
Luckily, we're able to this summer again
That's
because
great.
I think we're just based outside so much. It's a little easier for us.
Mhm.
So we'll have options from like 7:45 to 5:15 will be like the
Oh, that's wonderful.
our day. But I know a lot of other camps don't have that. And the state actually just recently came out with a program I was made aware of that they have the state has $3 million of, I think, like COVID, like education funding that they're going to put towards sending kids to summer camp. So students with disabilities and low income families it's called Rekindling Curiosity. And it's something worth, if you just Google it, state of New Hampshire, Rekindling Curiosity, it'll probably pop up online. And so you could basically just apply and submit, your documentation just to prove that you would be applicable. And I think families are eligible for up to like $650 of funds like per kid for this summer. So we could pay for a lot of summer camp. But one of the things that I actually was speaking to the education commissioner when he was explaining the program, kind of a stipulation. And again, just speaking to, the struggles in this Monadnock region is that one of the stipulations is that the camp has to be able to provide transportation. And there's very few camps in Keene that can do that. And the state isn't currently, we'll see if things change, but providing any kind of like stipend or anything for camps to even like kind of come together and form a transportation network. So I'm hoping to see if maybe like the school districts were interested in like helping us put together some options, because that's a lot of money that could be made available to our communities that we might not be able to take advantage of because of this type of like a stipulation like that when you don't have a transportation system in place is a lot to work through.
Yeah.
But it's something that, if there are, some camps in the region might be able to put that together. So it's still worth it for families to take a look on the website, or maybe even they could take advantage of, sleepaway camps that are a little further away in New Hampshire. And I would definitely say to check it out if you have the time. And it might be a good payoff at the end for you.
That's a great resource. And I had heard something about it, but I hadn't really looked into it deeply. But I do, as a parent, again, it's interesting that that the transportation piece comes up for summer camp. And I guess that's something I would love to think about for the future, ways that, as you said, it seems like there are various summer camps that could work together. And I know that, for Croca, one of the things that they do is they do rent vans every summer to be able to do transportation. Just because it's such a part of their programming and they, it's built into their costs, but, it does seem like the kind of thing that as a parent, there would be a lot more options if I knew that I could get, help with transportation that would work for me. And I'm sure that there are other families in Keene for whom it would be even more important. I am lucky enough, my mother-in-law helps out. And so we have, the grandma taxi that helps out in the summer. So yeah. And the other thing too, as a parent, is that I think that, summer camp is so different than school. And I don't think that people don't always realize the impact of it until much later in their life. And, I know like my husband has said, and he was like a very good student and everything, but he said that his summer camp experience was much more important to him because he really got to do the things, he got to figure out what he liked to do and what he wanted to do, not just what he was supposed to do. And, he talks about that, and he, has often said how important that was. And it was really important for me too. And part of that was also that I got to be with kids who were younger and older. It wasn't like you were just in a group of kids who were all 10 years old. You got to, and even if you were mostly with a group that was your age, you got to see and interact with the older kids and have something to aspire to. And I think maybe especially right now, having kids be able to remember, all the possibilities that are out there. And just, the physical activity is the other thing that has been on my mind a lot. And I have heard a lot of parents talking about feeling really kind of concerned because their kids have been so sedentary, because it just has not been easy. Kids who usually are in 2 or 3 sports teams haven't maybe played sports. Kids who are normally, out in the backyard playing with their friends or whatever, maybe they are still out in the backyard, but not as much. So I think that what you were saying earlier, Rebecca, about the sort of healing power of being playful and in nature and close to the soil and doing, farming and things is going to be, it's like the flip side of what has had to happen this year, where everybody sort of had to be inside and be using technology and digital and, getting back to like the tactile, real natural world seems really crucial to me right now. So I'm really, I love Stonewall Farm. I've spent a lot of time, wandering around on the trails, and I'm just so grateful. And I have lots of friends whose kids have done many, many summer programs there. So glad you guys are going to be able to do it this summer.
Yeah. Thank you. We're really excited. It's Sam and I's first year, at Stonewall together as a duo, and we have a lot of fun things in store. And yeah, I mean, getting, for any camp, like you're saying, it's just for the socialization again, like leading back into the school year, just to kind of get like a primer, before they're thrown back in September. And yeah, for, that physical exercise and just, getting out of the house, outside of nature. I really just hope that, and I really do think we have such a supportive community that if families are just, if they're willing to just reach out and ask questions and call around, I bet, I think there's an opportunity out there for everyone if they're willing to take advantage of it.
And I also, your thing about not being afraid to ask, I think is important, because I think that, for one of the things that I have noticed is that the tendency is, if you're a family who can just afford to pay the whole tuition and it's no problem, you maybe sign up in January and you don't give it a second thought. You just do it. And so one of the things that I know at Croca has been a little bit of a struggle is that because so many families signed up really early this year, a lot of the families that didn't sign up early are maybe the families that need camp the most, because they are working families, or because, they really, like, their kids really need that experience or should have, Anyway, so I do hope that, I really appreciate the Keene Sentinel. I love that camp guide. I always look at it and wish I could go to camp again. I sort of get to go to camp again this summer. But I hope that it would be great to just continue to encourage families to ask that question and to know, like you mentioning that funding, I think just any way that any of the camp programs can help make it really easy. Because that's the other thing also I find is that, like, again, the families that maybe the most are wanting to take advantage of this stuff, if it takes 5 phone calls and 6 emails and you have to be on the waiting list, then it sometimes isn't really, it can be a barrier that it seems like anything we can do as camp people and community members would be really great.
If you guys over at the Sentinel have any hookups with transportation companies locally that might be interested in donating or cutting their costs to get some kids to camp this summer, they could reach out to us, and well, I've already talked to some of the other directors of some camps in Keene, and it's it's obviously going to be a shared issue, and it's even if there were just like central pickup locations were some of the things that were tossed around when we were on the call, explaining this programming, like a couple of central locations for drop off and pickups in downtown Keene that would like fulfill the requirement and probably be enough for most families who like don't have that, the transportation themselves, like to be able to organize getting their little ones somewhere over the summer.
Are you thinking like something like a pickup and drop off at the library?
Yeah, like the library or the rec center or something like that. So like, some walkable places for a large portion of our community. Just 2 or 3 places, and then that would go to, maybe to designated like 5 or 6 camps or something like that. Just within Keene, you could probably get to the college and to MoCo and to the Y and to Stonewall like pretty easily. It's not much of a drive, and I really don't think there's I haven't encountered a lot of that need like in the past, so I don't think it would be a super like such a demand that we wouldn't be able to handle it. I think, but just I think it's really hurting all the fact that we can't offer this is hurting all the families that have the transportation that we just can't accept this funding from the state because this restriction they have in place. But it's something to be, worth looking into at the very least. So.
Yeah, well, as part of our pandemic parenting website, we do have a resource list that's kind of constantly under development. So we're always adding things to it, and I've gotten several ideas for things to add here tonight. But I hadn't even dawned on me the transportation issue. So I think we'll definitely start looking into that because it does certainly sound like there's really good potential there for some community-wide collaboration, which I know from my reporting on this childcare during the pandemic has been a really big driving force. So we are just coming to the end here, but Sasha, I did have one quick question for you, and it's something you've touched on a little bit, but I am curious for both your older kids and some of maybe the older kids, teenagers you've worked with at Croca, looking beyond the summer camp programs, what are some of the, similar to the list that Sam and Rebecca shared with the kid-friendly, like younger kid-friendly hikes, what are some of the other just free outdoor activities that you found some older kids, keeps them engaged still?
Well, the biking is definitely one of the ones that for my family has been most fun. And as we can sort of get my older kids, my 14-year-old in particular, more engaged if we do a bike trip and get ice cream after or something like that. But the lakes and ponds, and I mean, last summer, I am pretty sure that every swimming hole, every outdoor water place in the Monadnock region got explored and visited. And that is definitely one of them. It depends a lot on the particular kid. I mean, the kids who are at Croca are in a lot of cases they're pretty outdoorsy anyways. And so for them, a lot of those kids at Croca are old enough that they can even go and do some camping on their own or have, plan some, hiking Gap Mountain with friends, hiking Pitcher Mountain. Some of these smaller hikes I think can be really wonderful for them. But, it's a little tricky because I think that there's a lot of they want to kind of do their own thing. But at the same time, I think that they're not always quite ready to go totally by themselves. But my 14-year-old definitely, the biking has been the thing that's been the most fun for her. And again, it's tricky for me because I do feel like that's one of the places that in this area, because they're not old enough to drive and go do things on their own, the transportation thing makes it a little bit tricky sometimes. The things like dance camp has been something that my daughter has consistently really loved. Like she Bogovich School of Dance is what she has done in the past, and they do some smaller summer dance camps, and that's been a lot of fun for her. But yeah, I'm still looking for resources myself a little bit in that regard, I think.
Yeah, well, I think that it's a constant work in progress for all of us. and we are now kind of coming to the end here. We're right at 7:30. So as much as I hate to cut off this really wonderful conversation, we do want to be conscious of everyone's time. So I will thank all three of you again for joining us. Thank everyone who has joined us on this Zoom call, and everyone who watches the recording of this later on. Hopefully, tons and tons of great information shared here tonight. And again, we will make sure that that all of this is available on the Sentinel's website under the pandemic parenting page. So that's sentinelsource.com/pandemic_parenting. That has links to the reporting that we've done, the previous community listening sessions, the resource list that I referenced, and more to come as well. So thank you, all three of you, for joining us, and hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you,
thank
Jack.
you for hosting this, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.